So I wanted to take a look at evidence that my students were self-directing and sort of managed their time well despite my absence. Here's the plan for the day that the substitute read out to my students, and in the very first part of the day, students were to get into their so-called Pride Points teams, and they were then going to sketch position, velocity, and acceleration graphs for an object that had this particular velocity profile. So it's broken into two parts. It's a linear function for the first 5 seconds, and then a constant function for the next 3 seconds. And they needed to interpret that and be able to produce position, velocity, and acceleration graphs. Well, here's a team that was reasonably successful, although with one flaw. They were able to decode the linear velocity graph that then turns into a constant velocity. They were able to decode that into a fine acceleration graph that goes from being a uniform acceleration to being no acceleration. They kind of fell apart a little bit on the position graph, not recognizing that the initial velocity was negative, or after recognizing that, not being able to apply that to their position graph. And an example of a better position graph will be shown in just a second. Here's a good example of a position graph that starts with a negative velocity that becomes less and less negative. The velocities become less and less negative until this moment here, where the velocity would be 0, and then the velocities would continue to be positive after that point. And at this point here, there's a little bit of exaggerated linear section, but at this point the position graph would no longer be parabolic, but it would be linear. So this group landed in a better place than the first group, but both groups really managed to do the task reasonably well and interpreted things pretty well, and certainly with the report back from my substitute that their time was used well and there was a lot of engagement. I was really pleased about how students reacted to my absence.